This was a mistake, and I must take all actions to avoid such a thing in the future.
There's something undeniably captivating about a royal gesture. It's not only about crowns and titles, it's the way a single act can echo through global headlines, leaving people spellbound. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, received an extravagant present from a Saudi prince, the world paused, eager to see her reaction. This wasn't an ordinary token, it was the Rose of Jada, a stunning pink diamond necklace, centered around a 20-carat gem, framed with intricate white gold details and smaller diamonds, its value topping £2 million. Whispers swirled in royal circles as the moment unfolded, a velvet box presented under the sparkling chandeliers at a high-profile diplomatic gathering. But what followed wasn't just courtesy. Catherine's graceful reaction turned into a masterclass in diplomacy. The Saudi prince nodded in appreciation, and onlookers admired her poise. This wasn't simply about turning down a gift, it was about something richer, a quiet expression of principles, a gesture toward heritage, a subtle connection across cultures. Rather than accept the Rose of Jada, Catherine opted for something more grounded, a hand-woven silk shawl, naturally dyed in indigo and stitched with traditional Saudi designs. And then, in a move that caught many off guard, she sent the prince a gift of her own, a handcrafted pair of sterling silver cufflinks, made in London and etched with Celtic knotwork symbolizing unity and eternal connection. These small, yet meaningful exchanges spoke louder than grandeur ever could, a reminder that real diplomacy isn't about riches, but about respect. Let's explore this story, from the dazzling offer to the heartfelt response, and understand why Catherine's actions left such a deep impression. To grasp her decision, we begin with the necklace itself. The Rose of Jada was no ordinary piece of jewelry, it was symbolic. Pink diamonds are among the scarcest on the planet, and this one, sourced from Australia's famed Argyle mine, was flawless. Its soft hue glowing like a desert twilight, crafted by a top Parisian jeweler. The necklace showcased detailed motifs inspired by Saudi design, with arches and stars delicately worked into its structure, each diamond placed with precision to reflect the kingdom's grandeur. Insiders linked to the Saudi royal court said it was intended to reflect Catherine's grace and growing diplomatic ties between Saudi Arabia and the UK. But such offerings are more than decorative in Saudi tradition. Opulent gifts carry cultural weight, symbolizing generosity and stature. Historically, Saudi leaders have presented exquisite jewels to visiting royals, from Queen Elizabeth II's diamond sets to Diana's famed sapphire collection. So for the Saudi prince, giving the Rose of Jada was a sign of honor, a diplomatic overture to reinforce goodwill with the British monarchy. But for Catherine, the offer held deeper implications. Accepting such an opulent gift might be seen as creating subtle diplomatic obligations. Royal guidelines revised in 2003 urge careful judgment when handling lavish gifts, weighing donor intent and public perception. As a modern royal and a future queen consort, Catherine carries more than ceremonial weight. She's a global symbol, and every gesture is scrutinized. Accepting a £2 million necklace could spark backlash, especially given the controversies surrounding Saudi Arabia's human rights record. The world's eyes were on her, and she understood the stakes. The moment the necklace was revealed, the air in the grand reception hall seemed to still. Soft light from crystal chandeliers shimmered across the room as dignitaries watched in silence. With a gracious smile, the prince opened the velvet box, revealing the radiant pink diamond, a symbol of status and opulence that could impress anyone. But Catherine, elegant in a fitted emerald gown, remained composed. Her response was a graceful balancing act, turning what could have been a delicate rejection into a powerful gesture of mutual respect. It was the kind of moment royal observers would analyze for years, a refusal that felt more like a connection. Catherine's manner was impeccable. She leaned gently toward the prince, her face warm and sincere as she admired the piece. "It's truly stunning," she said, her voice soft but clear, full of genuine appreciation. "The artistry is exceptional, but what resonates most with me is the cultural heart behind your country's traditions. I'd be truly honored to accept a gift that reflects such tradition." Her words were carefully chosen, a graceful acknowledgement of the prince's generosity, while gently steering the focus toward cultural significance rather than luxury. It was a transition so smooth, the tension in the room visibly softened. The prince, experienced in the art of diplomacy, immediately understood her intention. With a subtle nod, he signaled to an aide who stepped forward, holding a second offering, a hand-woven silk shawl from Alasa, dyed in deep indigo and embroidered with palm fronds and desert rose patterns. This was no mere substitute, it was a true piece of Saudi heritage, crafted by skilled artisans whose designs told stories of the kingdom's land and people. Catherine's eyes lit up as she ran her fingers across the shawl's intricate texture, her appreciation unmistakable as she gently folded it in her arms. "It's truly lovely," she said softly, "and it's incredibly meaningful to carry a reflection of your culture." She would later wear the shawl at a private gathering within the palace, a quiet yet profound gesture of gratitude that did not go unnoticed. This wasn't just about tactfully avoiding a diplomatic misstep. Catherine's decision showed a keen awareness of the situation's complexity. A direct refusal might have come across as disrespectful, potentially putting strain on the growing ties between the UK and Saudi Arabia, especially at a time when trade and energy talks were in motion. By praising the rose of jade yet choosing the shawl, she acknowledged the prince's kindness without becoming entangled in the message behind a multi-million-pound jewel. It was a smart, measured move, grounded in royal guidelines and her own emotional sensitivity. She understood this was not just a moment for diplomats in the room. It was a moment the global public, especially on social media, would dissect, detail by detail. What made the exchange even more powerful was how genuine it felt. Catherine's warmth wasn't calculated. It was the same authentic compassion she brings when comforting children at charities or engaging earnestly with global leaders. That sincerity created a bridge between formality and humanity, making the prince feel appreciated, not dismissed. Insiders later shared that he spoke glowingly of her diplomacy, describing her as a true representative of her nation. In that brief but telling moment, Catherine didn't merely sidestep a political puzzle, she fostered a moment of mutual dignity that resonated far beyond royal walls. But her story didn't end with accepting the shawl. Catherine turned what could have been a one-way gesture into a meaningful dialogue. She responded with a gift of her own, one that embodied British identity and personal thoughtfulness. She sent the prince a pair of sterling silver cups created by a renowned craftsman from London's historic Hatton Garden, a district known for its heritage of fine jewelry. These weren't just stylish accents, they were symbols, each cufflink etched with a Celtic knot, an age-old symbol, representing eternity, unity, and the interwoven ties of friendship. The design, understated but rich in meaning, was carefully selected to reflect the cultural value of the shawl, creating a beautiful symmetry in the exchange. The story of the cufflinks was just as significant, forged by skilled silversmiths whose families have passed down their craft through generations. Each piece was gently hand-polished to a soft shine, reflecting Catherine's trademark elegance, simple, never showy. The Celtic knots looping, design whispered of Britain's ancient stories, its green hills, and its enduring cultural spirit. Included with the gift was a handwritten note from Catherine herself, penned in neat, flowing script, thanking the prince for his warm welcome, and expressing hope for a lasting friendship between their nations. According to sources, the prince was genuinely moved. The personal nature of the note added a layer of sincerity that protocol alone could never achieve. In diplomatic circles, reciprocation isn't just about politeness, it's a subtle art. Catherine's gift adhered to royal practices that prioritize thoughtful, modest offerings, carefully avoiding any appearance of excess or expectation. Its worth wasn't in its price, but in its message, mirroring the shawl's symbolic depth. The gesture also quietly spotlighted British artisanship, showcasing the UK's cultural and creative strengths on the global stage. Royal observers noted how the cufflinks, though humble in form, carried a profound weight. Much like Catherine herself, never ostentatious, always purposeful, the public took notice. On X, formerly Twitter, one post praised her elegant exchange of gifts, and some called the cufflinks a brilliant display of subtle influence, a perfect example of diplomacy through detail. The entire exchange quickly became a focal point in political circles, with commentators applauding how Catherine transformed a potentially tricky situation into a moment of shared understanding. Reports say the prince was genuinely pleased, and even wore the cufflinks at a later event, a subtle nod to the bond that had been quietly and respectfully formed. This wasn't just a token exchange, it was a carefully crafted gesture that built a meaningful connection, proving that even the smallest actions can leave lasting impressions. So why did Catherine, the Princess of Wales, choose not to accept the Rose of Jade, a dazzling pink diamond necklace valued at £2 million? The answer lies in a thoughtful combination of personal values, palace rules, global sensitivity, and the ever-watchful public eye. At its heart, her decision was rooted in authenticity, the kind that defines both her public image and personal integrity. Catherine has always represented a kind of down-to-earth royalty seen in high-street fashion, school drop-offs, and powerful speeches on emotional well-being. Accepting a jewel worth more than most homes might have damaged that image, casting her as disconnected in a time when economic hardship affects many. She understood the optics where she might see diplomacy. Others could see extravagance. Royal regulations were also a major factor, rules updated in 2003 following past issues, including the infamous 1980s Oman sports car episode, urge extreme care with lavish gifts. Items of such value, especially from powerful nations like Saudi Arabia, risk creating the impression of undue influence. And given the UK's strategic relationship with the kingdom, from energy to arms, accepting such a gift could have carried unintended diplomatic baggage. Catherine's choice helped avoid even a hint of partiality, preserving the monarchy's neutral standing. But it wasn't just about protocol. The broader international landscape also mattered. Saudi Arabia's human rights image, especially after the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, remains under close scrutiny. The risk of backlash was real. Just as the Countess of Wessex faced criticism over jewels from Bahrain in 2012, Catherine knew the Rose of Jada could trigger negative headlines and online outrage. Ever attuned to the media pulse, she likely foresaw the inevitable reaction: viral posts, opinion pieces, public debates, by gracefully turning down the necklace. She avoided a communications disaster and strengthened her image as a modern, ethical royal. But beyond politics and media, her response reflected something deeply personal. It echoed her appreciation for sincerity and meaning, the same quality that guides her parenting and quiet community work. The hand-embroidered shawl she accepted instead spoke to Herod, not price tags. Her choice wasn't about avoidance, it was about embracing her role as a respectful bridge between cultures. And it wasn't cold or mechanical. It was warm, human, and guided by a clear desire to honor her family, her country, and the diverse world she represents. The public response was immediate and widespread. From news desks in London to coffeehouses in Riyadh, her decision not to accept the Rose of Jada, and the heartfelt gift exchange that followed, became a topic of intense fascination. UK tabloids ran with headlines like Catherine's diplomatic touch and a masterclass in grace, while major newspapers like The Times dubbed her a rising symbol of soft diplomacy. Saudi media also responded warmly. El Riyadh described her shawl gesture as a tribute to our cultural artisans, applauding her for recognizing the nation's rich craftsmanship. The story crossed borders and backgrounds, drawing in royal fans, global observers, and everyday people alike. Online platforms lit up with discussion. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like #RoyalRespect, #CatherineElegance, and #ShawOverStones trended for days, drawing millions of impressions. Fans created artwork, highlighting the shawl's embroidery, and speculated on the deeper meaning behind the Celtic knots on the cufflinks. One popular post read, "She didn't reject a diamond, she built a diplomatic bridge. That's what real royalty looks like." Another user, a fashion blogger from Jeddah, uploaded a video breaking down the cultural symbolism of the shawl, gaining thousands of likes for spotlighting traditional techniques behind its design. But the conversation wasn't just about fashion or accessories, it was about what those choices signified. In a time of global tension, Catherine's decision embodied mutual respect and cultural understanding. Experts chimed in, dissecting her choices with academic interest. Scholars of diplomacy pointed to her as a textbook case in managing symbolic moments. Dr. Aisha Al-Mansouri, a respected analyst based in Riyadh, noted that by selecting the shawl, Saudi Arabia's cultural identity was front and center, perfectly aligned with the kingdom's Vision 2030, which seeks to highlight its rich heritage on global stages like the UK. Professor James Hartley, a noted royal commentator, called Catherine's gift choice a subtle masterstroke, minimal, meaningful, and a brilliant reflection of British elegance. Political analysts even compared her to Queen Victoria, who famously exchanged gifts with Ottoman rulers. But they noted a clear difference. Catherine's diplomacy was shaped by the era of constant connectivity, where every move is scrutinized. Across social platforms, this moment naturally drew parallels to royal gift controversies from the past, like Princess Diana's acceptance of a sapphire set from Crown Prince Fahd in 1981. Yet experts pointed out that Diana operated in a time before smartphones and trending hash. Catherine, in contrast, must navigate decisions in real time, with millions watching. Her decision to turn down the Rose of Jada wasn't just a safer route, it was a strategic win. By welcoming the shawl and replying with the cufflinks, she reframed the entire situation as a tale of cultural harmony, one that caught fire across borders. But this wasn't just about diplomatic nuance, it hit an emotional chord. Stories began to surface of Saudis and Brits exchanging heartfelt tokens, small cultural offerings sparked by her example. One teacher in London shared how her students mailed handmade cards to a school in Saudi Arabia and were surprised weeks later with colorful bookmarks woven by students in return. These quiet moments of exchange, born from a royal interaction, revealed just how far the ripple effect had reached. Catherine hadn't just sidestepped a challenge, she had planted seeds of connection, proving that sometimes the quietest actions echo the loudest. Her refusal of the Rose of Jada wasn't just news, it was a turning point for modern monarchy. It showcased how a royal figure can move through the complexities of international relations with both grace and humanity, choosing a handmade silk shawl over a high-value necklace, and responding with silver cufflinks etched in Celtic patterns. Wasn't just a polite gesture, it was a narrative woven with intention, centering on shared appreciation and mutual respect. It wasn't about turning down luxury, it was about embracing something far more powerful: unity through understanding. This story struck a chord because it peeled back the layers of Catherine's identity, not just as the Princess of Wales, but as a woman guided by authenticity, someone poised to shape what royalty looks like in the years to come. Her gesture strengthened UK Saudi ties without sacrificing her values, earning praise from diplomats in London and artisans in Alasa alike. Online, fans reacted with warmth and admiration. On X, one post called her the Queen of Quiet Influence, Another featured a delicate sketch of the shawl, captioned, simply, "This is Grace." These moments show how her choices extend far beyond protocol. They inspire people who see in her a reminder of what leadership grounded in sincerity can achieve, and it represents more than just Catherine's personal moment. It marks a shift in how the monarchy sees itself. In earlier generations, opulent gifts were accepted as a show of alliance. Now, the focus is shifting. Catherine's actions reflect a new kind of royalty, one that values meaning over material. She's carving out a path for the next generation. Royals like Charlotte or George, where elegance is defined not by diamonds but by depth. Her thoughtful response didn't just set a diplomatic tone, it created a model for engagement based on dialogue, not exchange, and her impact reaches further than statecraft. It reminds us that grace isn't about grand speeches or perfect optics. It's about making meaningful choices, especially when everyone's watching, whether in her approach to parenting or her quiet dedication to causes close to her heart. Catherine proves that small, well-considered acts can resonate far beyond their moment. This wasn't just a royal anecdote, it was a glimpse into an evolving monarchy, with Catherine at the helm, pointing it toward a future built on empathy and connection. So what do you think? Was it the cufflinks, the shawl, or her graceful handling of the entire moment that won you over? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of royal elegance that redefine leadership in today's world. Up next, a royal surprise that just might leave you speechless.